Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Today I've got to redo my FTP test to see if I can improve on 4 weeks ago. Today I'm aiming to try and beat 303 watts on the ramp test. This is the Syco-list. Let's get on with it. So as you can see, the footage is just starting here as I'm just coming towards the end of my 5-minute free ride at the start of the FTP ramp test that I've chosen to do today. This is something that I do throughout my training program as I enter different phases of my training program, just to see sort of where I'm at and how things are progressing so that I'm training within the right zones. One of the main reasons I use Zwift is that it makes it very simple to do. The test protocols of that within Zwift are all well signposted and easy to follow, which means it's always repeatable. The process is always the same and I can compare it every time to what I've done before, as the training environment remains the same. Obviously having the Wahoo kicker bike means that I can use erg mode within Zwift to control the resistance of my trainer to ensure that I hit the specific power levels required within the ramp test or in the warm-up as I go into other tests like the 20-minute time trial test. A lot of people ask me why I choose the ramp test instead of using a 20-minute FTP test and things like that. I generally use the ramp test purely because, like I said, it's easy to complete it. The system is easy to follow and you go to your maximum where you can't go any further. And obviously the parameters around the bike and the training environment remain the same. So the Zwift ramp test involves performing intervals at ever increasing power levels until you can't ride any further. It's more manageable than a 20-minute test, so people repeat it more often like I do as I enter different training phases, and therefore have more accurate training zones as I go into the next phase of my training. Another benefit of the ramp test is that the results depends less on how I pace the effort. It simply comes down to how long I can actually physically keep going for. And this is useful because getting the pacing wrong on a 20-minute effort can significantly skew your figures. A ramp test in itself is particularly useful when you're using a smart trainer because you can control the resistance for each interval and you've literally focused then purely on your pedaling, getting your cadence right, managing your breathing, and let the system do everything else for you. So obviously you can see now that I've sped the footage up and I've gone through the warm-up and I'm now doing minute intervals, just coming into the 280 watt interval now. Still looking at keeping my heart rate and cadence going, so cadence of around about 100 cadence and my heart rate around about 158 currently. So obviously the ramp test in itself, at first it should feel easy. Obviously will soon get harder as it goes on, and as long as you're holding the set power or within the parameters of that set power, the test will continue. Once you can go no further and stop pedaling, Zwift will automatically shift the resistance into a gentle warm down phase and then it'll calculate your FTP for you. So obviously with this FTP test, I'm testing it this time 4 weeks after my last one, which I did 17th of September, which I recorded 303 watts FTP. This test is being done now as I move on to the next phase of my training program, which is my build phase. My training program is set by my coach from Crown Coaching. I sit down with Carl regularly. We have catch-up chats about my training, and we look at how things are going and the sessions that are coming up in the following week. So at the moment, testing today, and then I'll be moving into my build phase of my training. I still incorporate Zwift racing within my training program because I like the competitive feel of it. So obviously on Tuesdays I've been racing with Level Racing in the WTRL Racing League on Zwift. Just gives me that competitive sort of feel. Still like to stay in the racing environment whilst I'm in my off season really. But also the test just helps me see where I'm going, if I'm progressing, make sure I'm training within the right zones and making sure that I'm moving forward with my plan and my goals that I've set for 2025 with my coach. My coach also knows that I do like a good challenge, so last year I obviously did the Everesting indoors on Zwift, but he also throws in little curveballs at me as well, so maximum effort attempt up out to Zwift is something that he's thrown in before, which then challenges you to work as hard as possible as you climb up out to Zwift, and that also gives you a good indication of your power figures and your zones as well after you've put in a maximum effort up that. Here we are, just coming to the end of the 380 watts a minute session. Still trying to keep my cadence fairly high for me, in the 90s, mid 90s. Heart rate has crept up to 172, 173, where I max out my heart rate around about 176 normally. So still trying to keep the cadence up, trying to keep my heart rate around that 172, 173 mark if I can, just as I get into the harder parts of this test now. So last test I did 4 weeks ago, I managed to complete the 400 watt minute, but I had nothing left in the tank after that. So I'm starting here just to push on and see if I can get through this 400 watt minute. Obviously the expression on my face says it all, I'm digging deep. The cadence is starting to drop down now, which is expected. It'll probably drop down into the 80s as we move into the next segment. Just coming up now to the banner for completing the 400 watt segment. Now I know inside that this is where I was last time, so I've just got to hold on and see how far I can get through this minute. Cadence now is really dropping down into the 80s as expected. Heart rate has crept up a little bit. Gritting the teeth, just trying to see if I can get through this minute, see if I can get further on the test, but got nothing left to give there and call it a day. Well, there you go then, FTP ramp test completed. 308 new FTP, increase of 5 watts from 4 weeks ago, which I'm quite happy with, to be fair. Moving in now to the build phase of my training program set by Crown Coaching. If you've liked this video, please click the like button, click the subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one.